What if everything you believed about loyalty, effort, and love was nothing but a carefully disguised illusion? What if the person you gave your time, energy, and heart to never saw your devotion as valuable, but instead treated you as a convenient backup plan? And what if today, right now, became the turning point, the day you stop being an option and start becoming the man no one can ignore? This is not just another story of heartbreak, it is a declaration of power. The pain you feel is not weakness, it is fuel. The disappointment is not your downfall, it is your awakening. Every moment of being overlooked, every second of being taken for granted, has prepared you for this exact transformation. Because the ultimate truth is this: the moment you stop begging to be seen, you become impossible to overlook. Chapter 1: The Illusion of Choice. You gave everything, your time, your loyalty, your energy, believing that if you proved yourself long enough, she would finally recognize your worth. But she didn't. She treated your devotion as something guaranteed, something permanent, as if you would always be there waiting for her attention. The harshest reality is not just that she ignored you, but that you allowed it. You convinced yourself that by enduring just a little longer, she would change, but deep inside, you already knew the truth. You were never her priority. You were just an option. And that ends today. From this moment on, you reclaim the power you gave away. This isn't about revenge, and it isn't about proving her wrong. It's about building yourself into a man so complete, so grounded, that her validation becomes irrelevant. She believed she could keep you dangling as a fallback while she explored other choices. She believed wrong. The very second you detach, the second you walk away without looking back, the game changes forever. Not only for her, but for you. Because that is the moment you rise above her reach, the moment you become untouchable. She will feel your absence like a weight pressing on her chest. The silence she once overlooked will echo louder than any words. And in that silence, regret begins its slow crawl. But here is the truth. Her regret does not matter anymore. The only thing that matters is you. Because when you walk away, when you cut the cord, you ignite the transformation into a man who will never again settle for being an option. Chapter 2: Emotional Detachment, the Ultimate Power. Everything changes the moment you stop caring. The instant you no longer react, no longer chase, no longer seek validation, you alter the dynamic completely. Control always belongs to the one who needs the other the least. And for too long, she had power not because she deserved it, but because you handed it to her. She dictated your worth because you tied it to her attention. She controlled your happiness because you allowed her presence to define you. But that man is gone. The man who once sought her validation has been replaced by someone infinitely stronger. Detachment is not coldness, and it is not bitterness. Detachment is mastery, the ability to control your emotions so completely that no rejection, no betrayal, no fleeting circumstance can disturb your inner balance. When you reach this level of control, everything changes. You stop explaining yourself, you stop trying to prove anything to anyone, you stop reacting, and in doing so, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability breeds curiosity. Curiosity breeds regret. She will notice the silence. She will wonder why you haven't called, why you haven't begged, why you haven't tried to win her back. And in that silence, doubt will begin to creep into her mind. She will wonder if she miscalculated, if she underestimated you, if perhaps she let something rare slip away. But you know the truth. This has never been about her. It has always been about you, about stepping into the strength of a man who does not beg, who does not chase, who does not need, a man whose value comes not from others, but from within. That is true power. That is true mastery. Chapter 3: Silence speaks louder than words. Emotional detachment is the first step, but silence is the weapon that delivers the final blow. She expects anger. She expects you to plead, to demand closure, to seek explanations. Because that is what most men do. They believe words can undo rejection, that desperate explanations can change the outcome. They seek validation in closure, unaware that this very need only weakens their position. But a man who understands his worth does something entirely different. He remains silent. No arguments, no explanations, no last words, just absolute, deliberate silence. And that silence will shake her. Because silence is not emptiness, it is power. It creates uncertainty. It leaves her with questions she cannot answer. Why hasn't he reached out? Why hasn't he tried to fix this? Has he truly moved on? Did he ever really care? This silence becomes her torment. It forces her to confront the possibility that she misjudged you. She thought she knew you. She thought she could predict you. But now you are an enigma, and the human mind is drawn irresistibly to unanswered questions. Most men beg for closure. A Stoic man creates closure through absence. No texts, no calls, no emotional displays of suffering, only indifference. And there is nothing more unsettling than a man who genuinely does not care anymore. Chapter 4. Rebuilding. Become unrecognizable. Silence has done its work. The absence has carved its mark. But now your focus shifts completely. This is no longer about her, no longer about the loss, no longer about proving a point. This is about you, about the man you will become. At this moment, you stand at a crossroads. One path leads to stagnation, rehashing every memory, drowning in self-pity, clinging to a ghost that is already gone. That is the path most men take, and it leads nowhere. The other path, reinvention, transformation, evolution, and that path is yours. Every ounce of pain, every wave of disappointment, every sleepless night, it is fuel. You can let it consume you, or you can forge it into something unshakable. The most powerful response to betrayal is not revenge, it is reinvention. Because when you rebuild, when you grow so far beyond what you once were, you create a version of yourself that not even you recognize, and certainly not her. This is where true discipline takes command. Your body, your mind, your purpose, they must all evolve. Train relentlessly. Build a body that reflects the resilience inside you, not for her, not to prove anything to anyone, but because you respect yourself enough to demand greatness. Feed your mind, read, learn, expand. Master your finances, because a man who controls his wealth controls his freedom. And above all, master your emotions, because nothing carries more power than a man who cannot be shaken. The paradox is simple yet profound. The moment you stop focusing on her, the moment you turn all that energy inward, is the moment she notices, because the man she once dismissed has vanished. The man who once clung to her attention has been replaced by someone beyond her reach. And that realization, too little, too late, will haunt her. But by then, you won't care, because you will have built something greater. You will have become the price. Chapter 5. The Art of Indifference. You have rebuilt yourself. You have discovered your strength. Now comes the final weapon, indifference. She still expects you to care. She assumes that beneath the silence, you are waiting for the right moment to react, to reach out, to prove that she still matters. She believes that, no matter how much you've grown, her presence still lingers in your heart. But she is wrong. Indifference is not pretending. It is not forced detachment. It is not acting like you don't care while secretly hoping she returns. No true indifference is a complete shift in power. It is the understanding that nothing external, no woman, no rejection, no loss can dictate your emotions. A man who is indifferent is a man who is free, and a free man cannot be controlled. Most men crumble under emotional pressure. They chase after what has slipped away. They try to prove their worth to someone who has already dismissed them, but not you. You no longer beg, you no longer chase, and you no longer bend. Instead, you walk into every room with a quiet, unshakable presence that says, I am whole with or without you. That kind of energy cannot be ignored. It forces people to question their choices. It forces her to rethink what she once took for granted. And in her heart, the regret begins to burn. But that regret is hers to carry, not yours. The essence of indifference is non-reaction. If she posts something to provoke you, you remain unmoved. If she sends a message testing the waters, you do not reply. If she crosses your path hoping to gauge her influence, you are unaffected. This is not a tactic. This is not a game. This is reality. She no longer matters. And when she finally sees this, when she realizes that her power over you is gone forever, that is when the truth cuts deepest. Because indifference is the loudest statement you will ever make. Chapter 6. When she notices the shift, time passes and the silence grows heavier. At first, she convinces herself nothing has changed. She tells herself you are still the same man, still lingering in the background, still waiting for the right opportunity to reach out. She expects a text. She expects a reaction. She expects a crack in your resolve. But then nothing. No desperate calls, no lingering messages, no signs that you still orbit around her. And that is when it begins. She notices the shift. Women are intuitive. They can sense when a man's energy changes. And now she senses something she never expected. Your detachment is not an act. It is real. For the first time, she feels the absence of your attention like a void. She tries to ignore it, but the thought gnaws at her. What if she was wrong? What if you truly don't care anymore? What if you've moved on to someone better or worse? What if you've simply moved on from needing anyone at all? This is when regret creeps in. Not because she loves you, not because she suddenly respects you, but because she miscalculated. She thought you would always be there. She thought she could return whenever it suited her. But now, she's no longer sure. This is the moment most men fail. The moment she throws out a lifeline, a casual, "Hey, how have you been?" a like on your post, a reaction to your story. Most men take the bait, eager to prove they're still available. But not you, because the second you engage, the second you acknowledge her test, she wins. But when she is met with silence, when her attempts to reel you back and fall into emptiness, that is when everything changes. Because for the first time, she feels powerless. And nothing is more unsettling than realizing you have lost control over something you once thought was yours. And that, right there, is the true shift of power. Chapter 7. The return test. Will you fail it? By now, the shift is undeniable. She has felt the silence, the void, the absence of your attention. And now she acts. It always happens. When a man truly detaches, when he no longer waits, when he focuses fully on himself, she returns. It might be subtle at first. A simple, "Hey, how have you been?" a like on your post, a reaction to your story. Or perhaps no words at all, just her watching, lingering, observing quietly in the background. But don't be fooled. This is not affection. This is not love. This is a test. She doesn't miss you, not yet. What she misses is the control, the certainty, the comfort of knowing that you were always there, always waiting, always an option. Now that option has disappeared, and she needs to know, does she still have access to you? Can she still pull you back with the smallest gesture? Most men fail this test. They see a message, a like, a reaction, and they think, she regrets losing me. They rush back, eager to prove they are still available. And just like that, the power shifts back to her. The mystery evaporates. The regret dissolves. She has what she wanted, confirmation that you were never truly gone. But you are not most men. You recognize the game for what it is. You understand the trap. And you do what few men have the discipline to do. You pass the test. You do not respond. You do not react. You do not give her the satisfaction of knowing she still holds influence over you. Because you are no longer playing her game. You have outgrown it. And when she realizes that, when she sees that her pull no longer works, when she finally understands that you are gone for real, that is when she feels the weight of her loss. Chapter 8. The power shift. She feels what you felt. The tables have turned. The same uncertainty, the same doubt, The same emptiness that once consumed you now consumes her. She begins to replay past conversations. She remembers the way you cared, the way you were always there, the way you gave without hesitation. And for the first time, she sees it differently. She sees that what she once dismissed was rare. But it is too late. When she had you, she didn't value you. She took you for granted. She assumed you will always be waiting, always chasing, always needing. She never considered the possibility that you would outgrow her. But now she faces a reality she never expected. You are no longer the man she knew. You are no longer defined by her. You are no longer orbiting her world. And here lies the truth. She never respected the man who begged. She never valued the man who chased. She never admired the man who placed her above himself. But the man who walked away, the man who rebuilt himself, the man who became something greater without her, that is the man who lingers in her thoughts. That is the man she regrets losing. But you do not return. You do not look back, because the past is dead, and the man she once knew no longer exists. That man is gone, replaced by someone far stronger. And now, she must live with the consequences of her choices. Chapter 9. Mastery over Emotions. The final lesson. The power shift is complete. But this was never about her. It was never about proving anything to her. It was never about making her regret or chasing revenge. It was always about you, about growth, about discipline, about evolution, about becoming the man who is no longer ruled by his emotions. Most men live their lives reacting to rejection, to heartbreak, to someone else's choices. They allow external forces to dictate their worth. But not you. You no longer react, you observe. You understand, and you move forward. That is the essence of mastery. True strength is not in controlling others, it is in controlling yourself. The man who has mastered himself is unshakable. He is untouchable. He does not beg. He does not seek validation. He does not collapse under emotional pressure. He walks forward with quiet certainty, knowing that his peace, his happiness, his power were never dependent on anyone else. And now she sees it. She once thought she could walk away and break you. She thought you would wait, that you would chase, that you would remain the same. But now she realizes the truth. You were never weak. You were never disposable. You were the prize all along. She just failed to see it until it was too late. But her realization no longer matters, because this was never about her. It was always about you. And now you understand the most important lesson. Your value was never determined by her attention. Your strength was never defined by her choices. You were whole from the very beginning, and now you finally see it for yourself. Chapter 10. Freedom, the ultimate victory. Mastery over emotions was never the final destination. It was the gateway to something far greater. Freedom. This was never about winning her back. It was never about making her suffer. It was never about proving your worth to someone who failed to see it in the first place. No, that mindset only keeps you trapped in the past, in the illusion of closure, in the endless cycle of chasing validation from someone unworthy of giving it. This was always about liberation, about breaking free from the emotional chains that once bound you, about walking into the world no longer controlled by anyone's choices but your own. Think about how much time, how much energy, how much of your peace was consumed by her. How many nights you spent replaying old conversations, searching for hidden meaning in words that didn't matter. How much of your power you surrendered, hoping she would finally see your worth. And now none of it matters. You no longer need her answers. You no longer crave her approval. You no longer seek her validation. That is real power. That is true victory. Because the greatest revenge is not making her regret. It is reaching the place where she no longer matters at all. You are no longer the man she walked away from. You are no longer the man who sacrificed his peace for her presence. That version of you is dead. In his place stands someone unshakable, someone unstoppable, someone free. A man who does not chase, a man who does not beg, a man who does not waver, a man who commands respect not by demanding it, but by embodying it. And that kind of man is rare. That kind of man is irresistible not just to women, but to the world itself. Because the man who has mastered himself, the man who is free, is the man who wins. The final transformation from option to power. Everything has come full circle. You began this journey as a man overlooked, as an afterthought, as someone who gave his all to someone who never truly valued him. But look at you now. Look at the distance you've traveled. Look at the man you have become. You are no longer defined by the past. You are no longer weighed down by her choices, her rejection, her disregard. Because in the end, none of it ever truly mattered. What mattered was you, your growth, your discipline, your ability to take pain and forge it into strength. You have proven what most men never will, that you can walk away from anything and still rise. That you do not need closure, that you do not need validation, that you do not need anyone else to see your worth, because now you see it yourself. She once believed you would wait. She assumed you would chase. She thought you would always be an option, but she was wrong. You disappeared, and now she is the one looking back. She is the one questioning herself. She is the one who lost. But it no longer matters to you, because you have outgrown the need for revenge, for validation, for her approval. You have transcended it all. This is real victory. Not in winning her back, not in making her jealous, but in reaching the place where her presence or her absence means nothing. Because you now understand the ultimate truth. The man who needs nothing gains everything.